Hi everybody, it's Diane K. Brennan. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to do a type of video that I used to do a lot of and I haven't done in a long time. They used to be really popular on TarotTube. I don't know if they still are or not. But this is going to be more than just tarot. This is going to be like everything I do, okay? Because this is my wrap up for the entire month of July with everything. So I'm going to start with tarot and move on from there. Tarot and Oracle. My decks that I used. Don't mind me, I'm fussing. I have so OCD. And my little cloth here on my desktop is driving me crazy right now. There we go. Because it got out of whack. All right. I'm good. I'm here. Anyway. So the decks that I used for the month of July for my daily draws were the Shakespeare Tarot by Luigi Scapini. I love Scapini's art. He's very cheeky. He follows very closely in most of his decks to the Visconti Tarot. And I discovered that's because he actually used to be an artist for creating the Visconti reproductions. So he worked a lot in the Visconti type of art, and that is why his art style really tends to follow with that. It's fun, it's cheeky. You get like the elongated figures, you get the, the goldish, the matte gold on the back. And let me see if I can find one. Yeah, and you get a lot of like these, like the Madrone kind of has those colors. And this, where you can tell they're supposed to kind of look like a gold foil or, these tapestry looking backs. So, I said very, very much in the Visconti style, but then sort of semi-illustrated with a little bit of like RWS, although like in the Shakespeare, this is all scenes from Shakespeare plays. It's just a really fun deck. It's a little big, but this one is just short enough for me to be able to overhand and to riffle. Just. With that, I had paired the Mermaid's Purse Oracle by Olivia Rose. Now, this is the only Oracle deck I've ever bought off of Kickstarter. And I'm so glad I did because I really love this very fun, colorful art. And to me, that pairs really, really well because this dark background is a contrast, but then those bright colors pop and really match well with the colors and the art style. To me, complements. It's not matchy-matchy, it's complementary. And a little bit of a contrast with the light and the dark. Although there's some very dark colors in some places in the Shakespeare Tarot. If you're familiar with the deck, you know what I mean. Some of those, the one that I showed, had like darker tapestry that kind of goes with like this border that's on this. Anyway, to me these pair well, but I'm going to try, next time I use the Shakespeare Tarot for anything, I'm going to try pairing it with the I Am Queen Oracle, just to try something different because I've paired it twice now with this. But those are the backs to the Mermaid's Purse. I don't know if this is still available or not, but the guidebook is short, sweet, really good. I do like, you get like one little paragraph for each card with the image. And always a pleasure to use both of those decks. I really like them both. Now, if you've followed me over the years at all and been connected with me on Facebook, Instagram, etc., and seen my daily draws, I have always had one pairing for the entire month. And it's because I really wanted to sit and work with a deck for a full month. But then there's so many decks that I want to work with. And A lot of them never, ever literally see the light of day. They sit in my drawers. And I mean, that whole unit behind me, whoops, there we go, is my entire collection of decks and divination tools, because it's also got a drawer that's got my runes, ohm, dice, actually 2 drawers. My Lenormand decks are in there, my playing cards, but there's the other stuff like charms, runes, ohm. Anyway, all my divination stuff. My bobber sits on top of there. Some of my pendulums are in there, besides the one that sits out on my desk. So they don't ever come out and play. So I've decided to switch things up moving into August and use 2 pairs, so a total of 4 decks. I'm going to see how well I do at kind of randomly doing it, or just switching them out every other day or something. I'm so OCD. Random is something difficult for me to do, but I might feel into my mood and see which pair I feel like pulling. So there could be a couple days in a row where you see the same pair, and then I switch to the other one, and back and forth. We'll see how this goes, because this is a first. I've never done this before, all right? I'm breaking free from my normal routine and my comfort zone. Very unusual for me. I tend to be a very fixed personality and very OCD and don't like to shift and change things up, but I'm working on this. And I'm reaching this point where my life has shifted and changed so much that I'm open to shifting and changing my practice. Now, one thing I always use, and this will continue, is you will see my Anglo-Saxon runes. If you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I've started doing my daily draw as a reel on there, and if you turn the sound on, I actually do my reading orally, and that includes pronouncing the names of the Anglo-Saxon runes, because they're even the ones that are in common with the Elder Futhark, because the Anglo-Saxons are all of the Elder Futhark plus some extra runes, but I'm pronouncing them in the old Anglo-Saxon pronunciation that I learned from Alaric Anderson? Forget Alaric's last name. I have his books. Albertson, Alaric Albertson. Because we were friends back in the day when he lived in the Pittsburgh area. And so he went over, like, he pronounced them, and I got to hear them firsthand. And I think in his book he's got pronunciations too that I've written the way he has them, but I did hear them pronounced and got to learn them. So those are in there if you want to hear them. So that's not like music playing while I'm doing that and I'm just showing the cards. I'm actually talking you through my reading and my interpretation of the cards. And so what I'm going to pair for August is, and I was just going to do this first pair I'm going to show you. I love this pair together. This is a favorite pairing. I paired them once together, fell in love. They work so well together visually, and they play well together. And that is the Pipspeak Tarot, which is in the adorable custom Moonlit Fae bag, where I got to pick the inner and outer designs that were actually designed by Kitten Chops, by Zara. I love this deck. You know, I sat on the fence for a long time before buying it because it was so cutesy. It was so like childlike drawings. Then I decided to buy it for inner child work. Well, I'll tell you what, never mind inner child work. You can do anything with this. It does not pull its punches, but it wears gloves. How's that? So it's a soft punch, but oh my goodness. I mean, it's so true to the Marseille system, and yet with her own fun style and embellishments. And just to show you what I mean about how these work together. Like visually, there they go. This deck is a front and back. So this is the front that would be with it. And then on the back, it gives you a longer thing. I absolutely love this deck. So if you don't already follow me on Instagram and you're curious to see these two together, follow me. But this is a Louise Hay deck, the Wisdom cards. And this was gifted to me by a very good friend who sadly is no longer with us. And I miss her a lot. So this deck actually has great sentimental value to me. Plus it's Louise Hay, who I truly admired, and sadly she is also no longer with us. The other pairing that I'm doing is the new Crystal Flower deck, which again, like this deck, just fits into being able to overhand and riffle shuffle. The reason this is taller and this is shorter and they both barely work is because this is thicker. Okay, this is thicker cardstock. And what I'm pairing with it is the Moonology deck. And look at this. I really thought about keeping the Mermaid's Purse Oracle in play because, I mean, if you look at this, the colors, like, they're just as vibrant. The problem is this deck is so busy and this has just enough busyness that together they're too busy. And I just decided I didn't like it. This does not have as dark of a background on most of the cards. You can see it's a lot more colorful, but look at how the colors play and how this kind of, just softens this card, or, you know, like it works together so softly and well. These purples are in almost all of the cards to this. This is the back to it. Totally reversible, very lovely. This is actually, I thought about this as I was edging it, a very reversible Tarot de Marseille. Because even the cards you can't normally reverse, you have the name of the card on every single one of them at the bottom, but also the design is different, top and bottom. Just to find another suit that's hard to reverse typically. Come on, is the batons. And of course, just trying to flip through because this deck is still kind of sticking together. I'm not finding one like I want to. So here we go. The batons are very club-like batons, not the typical Tarot de Marseille ones. But again, even if they were, she has the names down here. So if you like to, for some strange reason, and you do you, read Tarot de Marseille with reversals, this deck can do it. It's not exactly cheap, but it's very reasonable priced in my opinion. The deck itself is fine. If you're in Europe, I'm sure your shipping is going to be a lot less expensive than it was here to the US. But still, even with the shipping, for the quality of the deck and its uniqueness and the fact that it's an indie deck, was not unreasonable in my opinion. Just saying. So those are my two pairings. Now this just came in today's mail, so I have yet to sit and edge it. I purchased it not knowing that I was buying a knockoff. So I had I've got like a mini version of it. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to keep the original, especially now that I have a tarot deck that works so well with it. And I'm going to see how they work as far as readings go. Making sure they play well together. The other thing I did deck-wise this month is I bought a backup copy of the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. Now, I only have one other Oracle deck that I have a backup copy of, and that is my Wisdom of the Oracle, for the same reason it's a working deck for me. Now, my other copy is edged more in like this light brown, my original. This one I'm edging in the like the teal of the back so that I can tell the difference between them. They don't get mixed up. And the reason I did it is because in November, I'm either going to work with one pair for the entire month just because the Matranua is new to me and I love it and I'm passionate about it and I can't wait to work with it, but it's also going to become my working deck in September. So I may do 2 different pairs, you know, continuing that in November. I haven't decided yet. It's only going on, tomorrow's August 1st. I don't have to decide about November today, right? Please. I'm dealing with enough decisions these days. So that's a good segue into the other thing I'll do kind of an update on. If you've been following me at all, and I've been talking about it in my videos, it's been coming up in my daily draws. If you follow me on Instagram and actually listen to my daily draw interpretations, and you can go back and listen to them, they're still there, then you know I've been dealing with my baby sister's estate because a real mess landed in my lap that is still being sorted out. I mean, we had to pull life support. I had to make that decision. And it was showing in my cards, like big decisions had to be made, you know. The day that I got the call from the hospital down in Charlotte, North Carolina, from a doctor notifying me about her being there and on life support and critical condition and what had happened, having a big decision to make showed up in my cards. And I was like, okay. And I had no idea. I have learned that the King of Swords can represent a funeral director because of what's happened the day that that's shown up in my cards. And it makes sense. King of Death, right? So I've had a very swordsy month, and it's because this is what I've been dealing with. And anyway, it was the 8th of this month that we had to pull life support. And today is the 31st. And to the best of my knowledge, she is still not cremated because the wheels are turning very, very slowly. She worked for a large international airline, was a domestic, became international. Everything is this department, that department, you know, that benefits are dealt with elsewhere. There's a group life insurance, you know, like, so they're waiting for the approval from the life insurance for the funeral home to be paid out of that. And I've done that once before and it didn't take this long. This is getting ridiculous. So that's something that I'm sure is going over into next month. We'll still be seeing it in my readings of my daily draws, I'm sure, because if you don't realize this, daily draws are not about this big, oh my God, when you read them, they're mundane. Even the majors are still covering the mundane stuff happening in your everyday life. They're just kind of saying, this is happening, but you don't have a lot of control over it. Whereas maybe you do if you've got a court card. Unless you have the page or valet or font of the suit, because that has no agency. They can't do anything without it being the bidding of the king or queen. So they have no ability to act. So that can also represent you in the situation and not being able to do anything. And that has come up a few times this month. Because there isn't really a lot I can do. I'm doing everything I can, and then I have to sit and wait. And honestly, I can't wait for this to be over. Hopefully by the end of August, we have estates open, and we are then, like, things are funded and we're just waiting for the 6-month period to pass for my sister and I, my other sister, living sister, and I to be able to collect our inheritance. So it's been, again, if you follow me, I lost my mother in June, my baby sister in July. I love summer, and I can't wait for this summer to end. This is not my favorite summer, okay? Now, next month is my birthday month. I did pull the trigger on a deck that, it's been off and on and off and on my list for a long time, because every time I see somebody playing with it, I feel very called to the art, but it's a messy Tarot de Marseille deck. And if you know me, you know I like the cleaner lines. I don't like the messier decks. But this deck is actually intentionally a messy deck. Like, it's intentionally that kind of art. And so, Simon, I finally ordered the Tarot des Ozarks. Now, I just ordered it, but it is one of my birthday decks, as early, because I ordered it the beginning of last month, was the Matra Nua pair that I got. That was an early birthday gift, very early birthday gift. And but I wanted some time to work with it before I started using it. And so again, you'll see that coming up in September, because with the autumn equinox, I will be switching my working decks. And I am now going to work with seasonal pairings, and the Matra Nua and Angels and Ancestors are going to be my fall-winter seasonal pairing for working decks, and the Metanoia and Wisdom of the Oracle are going to be my spring-summer. And if you really look at the colorings on these, you'll see that it works really well for that seasonal split, because I was trying to figure out how in the world I was going to work the Matra Nua in as a working deck, because I love it and I want it to be a working deck, the tableau size especially. But sometimes even the slightly larger, the larger second edition, and decided the seasonal split would be it. So I'll be working with those two for that, and I'll be using the second edition as my deck of the month for November. One of my decks of the month for November, at least. Okay. And the other. So books and other things. So I have been reading, and I am close to done. I'm getting there. I have a hard time focusing. I really do. And I'm working on this. I'm trying to focus. But I've been going through so much that when my brain gets scattered, there's a game I play on my phone that helps me kind of ground and center. And I've been doing that a lot. Understandably, I mean, if you listen to what I just said, I'm going through, right? But I'm trying to read this. I wanted to finish it by the end of this month. I'm not going to finish that tonight, okay? So I will be finishing this probably over the course of the next week. I have also been keeping on track with my Guerci from the Bardic course of the Obod. And then I also have been reading this book, Succulent Wild Woman by Sark. Now, I'd started to read this once before, and I only got so far, and something else called me, so I kind of walked away from it. So I want to finish this in August, and then I got a new book. And it wasn't because of ordering the Moonology Oracle deck, believe it or not. But I got very called into, like, I'm trying to work deeper into my spirituality, hence going through the Bardic grade of Obod, and planning on going through the next 2 grades and making it all the way to actually becoming a druid. I consider myself a druid. I just like to actually, like, have formal training, You know what I mean? But Moon Wisdom came today. And I have some other moon books on the way, working with like moon magic and the cycles. So this is going to be a deeper dive into that part of my spiritual practice, because my spiritual practice does not follow the pagan wheel of the year. Tomorrow is not anything to me other than the first of the month. Okay. My spiritual practice focuses on the things that are very, very, very ancient, like Paleolithic ancestors would have paid attention to. And that is the solstices and equinoxes and the like ebb and flow of the year. They would have noticed that, but they wouldn't have been agricultural yet. They were still hunter-gatherers, so they would not have been following the harvest festivals. They wouldn't have been harvesting anything. The rest of those are all centered around grains and harvest, and I don't eat grains. I don't do harvest, and our ancient ancestors didn't either. It's not what they were gathering. They were gathering firewood and herbs for medicine and for some flavoring, but it wasn't a food, okay? We're not really meant to eat that stuff. I have plenty of videos on that topic. But they also would have been following the phases of the moon. And so do I. And so I want to work with that more deeply. It's been kind of a superficial following the phases, but not really working with them. And I want to work with them more. So like when the full moon came in, I looked at what time that was going to be happening. And right as it was coming to its peak, I totally smudged the house with resin incense, a Celtic blend that I love, because I got a new burner. Oh, here, I'll get that. I got this lovely new burner so that it's easier, because I've had this one and it's lovely and it's wood, but it gets hot. So if you're going around the house and you've got it burning and you're trying, then your hand starts to warm up, because even though wood doesn't really carry an electrical charge, it does carry a heat charge. Hence, wood can burn. That's got a metal lining, so the wood's not going to catch on fire, but it does warm up in your hand. This one's all metal, but it has the wooden handle, and so this walks around very nicely, and this had come in just in time for me to use this to do that. So that's a new little tool in my tool repertoire. Count that as another early birthday gift. And so I think that pretty much covers it. And I'm doing really well with my carnivore diet. I made my own bone broth for the first time in years. My last batch years ago, there was something off on the taste. I didn't end up liking it. And then I just never made it again. And I've tried some commercial ones, but they're too thin, because the beauty of bone broth, when you make your own, is the collagen for replacing what's, like, it's good for your skin, your nails, your hair. And I used the beef soup bones that had the beef marrow bones. I have a bowl full of marrow and collagen sitting in my fridge. So I had like a couple of spoonfuls of that as part of my breakfast this morning, plus a cup of the bone broth, along with my 3 hamburgers and my half a piece of liver, because that half a piece of liver is my daily vitamin. And that was my breakfast. But I've been doing really good overall this month. I'm going to say, in July here, with all of the stress, I've mentioned it in some other videos. If you watch any of my health and wellness videos and the carnivore stuff that I put out there, I have mentioned that I have still kind of reflexively gone back to having some sugar surges with the stress of all of this, especially the day I got the news about Karen, because I just dealt with my mother. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I really wanted to go get a shot of whiskey, a beer, and a cigarette. And instead I got an ice cream and a candy bar. All right. I haven't smoked in 16 years. I haven't had alcohol at all in, I'm going to say like 4 or 5 years, and it hasn't been much over the past 16 years, you know, like before that. For well over a decade before that, I really, like, I wasn't drinking very much at all. It would be something like, you know, I mean, the last time I did it was because my cousin, his wife, came in to visit, and so I got like a twisted tea or something like that. I don't even remember what it was. It was that, or I forget, there's another, like a bottle thing that I like. Anyway, I got something like that that I like to drink, and I had one, and I was done. And I was happy. I'd had it. I was good. But I don't do it anymore. I'd hate to see what would happen if I did. That's why I didn't go to the bar. I went to the grocery store instead and indulged in that sugar craving instead of the other sugar craving. So I am, for the most part, keeping on a very level keel because, again, my spiritual practice, my morning yoga and stretching, my daily walking. I just went on a trail walk today. Touching trees and just being surrounded by so much nature and greenery with the dirt path under me, the water. Oh, that was so grounding and refreshing, and I really enjoyed it. It is, you may hear in some of my reels on Instagram for the daily draws, you may hear me have to kind of clear my throat or my voice is a little rough and things. It's because hello ragweed season, right in time for my birthday, right at the end of July, somewhere in the last 2 weeks of July, in comes ragweed season. And for over 50 years now, it has been the bane of my existence. This will be 51 years, matter of fact, with it. So, I mean, I take allergy pills, but not at that hour in the morning. That's like right before. So I'm kind of, as the allergy pill has really worn off. And even though I haven't stepped outside yet, the pollen is still kind of affecting me, or just the sinusy, you know. So bear with me on those. I do my best to clear everything before I do it. I mean, my meditations have humming, and that clears a lot of it out. Humming, by the way, stimulates your vagus nerve and is very calming and relaxing. And it is one of the ways, besides the 3 deep breaths I always recommend, that you can calm and release yourself. So simple Om gets that vibration going right over your vagus nerve, and that stimulates that nerve throughout your entire body and calms you down. Just a little tip, because I love sharing that stuff. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've gone on long enough. I think I've covered everything. And I will see you in the next one. Love, light, many, many blessings. Peace out.